Now, if you want to get one of these for yourself, I will link it down in the description. I'm pretty positive I can get a link for this knife for only like $100, which is incredible. So if you want to get one of your own, just check out the link in the description. And I also have all my other stuff down there, Patreon, Instagram, email, so on and so forth. If you guys want to get a hold of me for sharpening, or if you guys want to support me through Patreon, all the links are in the description. Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and this is the Twosun Ts305, a Maswan Mokhtar design. Now, Maswan Mokhtar designs some of the best Twosuns in my opinion. They're always extremely good quality, and this one is right there with the rest. Now, we have 14C28M blade steel from Twosun, a titanium. I would call it a frame lock. You could call it a liner lock, whatever you want to call it, but it's very thick liners, and then beautiful carbon fiber that, since it's contoured, it gives you the crosscut section in the carbon fiber. I love it. It's very beautiful carbon fiber, very, very well done, extremely smooth. The action on this knife is really, really good. We have reverse flicking deployment, thumb flicking deployment, and a top flipper. Now let's start with the top flipper. The top flipper is very well jimped, and you see how it's rounded, so it's going to allow you to get great purchase on it, whether you're in front of it or on top. It's just really good. It's nice and grippy. I can deploy it from multiple different directions, but the detent is nice on it. Nice break, and it's super smooth, so when you unlock it, it's extremely smooth. We'll get into that in 1 second. Now, the flipping hole. I think some people have a little trouble with this because they think of you going like this, which you can, but it's not made to go this way like that. What you do is, since it is a longer knife, because this is not a small knife, instead of holding it like this, just angle it. Angle it towards your pointer finger like this. And you use, just like how a Spyderco PM2 is, how you put the pressure going up the hole instead of, you don't go out, you go up. Well, same thing with this. You put your finger in there and you go straight up. Now, you don't want to use your nail. I mean, I guess you can, but you can kind of wedge it in there if you go like that, and it'll get stuck. So I usually use the meat of my finger. The detent is perfect for that, but you can use your nail as long as you're going straight up. But amazing, amazing deployment. Also the thumb, same thing, straight up. But yeah, just angle it in your hand a little bit, and then you put the pressure towards this flat area up there, and it works so good. Now, when you unlock it, it has two cutouts, one on each side, and you can easily get to it. It's not like a cutout from the side, though. You do have to go around from the front, but since they put the cutouts on both sides, you can kind of just squeeze your finger right in between. It's very easy, or you can also just come from the side and put pressure. The detent is nice and early as you could get. Very early, so you're always past the detent. I've never found myself fumbling around with the detent on this guy. The ceramic bearings are on a little track, a little washer that's on the surface of the titanium, so the ceramic bearings are not spinning on the titanium, creating a groove. So it's ceramic on steel contact, which also has a little groove around it for the balls to roll on, so it makes it incredibly smooth. Not fall shut action, but very, very close to it. I mean, it is definitely drop shutty. Now, it also has a ceramic detent ball in there, and the detent strength is very well tuned for this knife. Now, it has amazing acoustics too. Now, when it smacks out and you hear that ting, I'm doing that on purpose. It won't fly out unless if you let it slam, meaning like when I go like this, like that, how it pops back out. Some people think that means that it's a light detent. No, I'm doing that on purpose. But you hear the vibration when it opens up. That's from me not touching the clip. I'm not left-handed, guys. Very nice action, though. I do like this knife quite a bit. Next, so the Ergos, man, you can see it has very, very neutral Ergos. And then you see this little spot right there. That really allows you, especially if you have big hands, to really get a grip around there with your pinky. And you can use this ramp right here. There's no jimping there. This jimping right there you don't feel, so there's no jimping. And it allows you to really get force into your cuts. And you can switch grips very easily. So going from slicing to a push cut very, very easily, and then you can do your push cuts. You can switch it around for reverse cuts. Since it's contoured and the way it is, it's very easy to manipulate in the hand. And the blade is a little weird or awkward because it swoops up a little bit, which is kind of unique, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. But the Ergos are so good. I barely feel the clip because the clip is pretty much contoured as well. And it's not, even though it's pretty deep, we'll talk about the clip too here in a second. It doesn't bother you in the hand, but it's not technically a deep carry clip. You can get up very close to that blade, and the cutting performance is very, very, very nice. Nice and thin behind the edge. I measured this one at, I think it was 14 thousandths. Yes, it was about 14 thousandths behind the edge. Extremely, extremely slicey. And you have so much control in the handle that, you know, and if you watch when I do my cutting, when I show my cutting, I try to show you different ways of me holding the handle and the knife, doing different types of cutting. And yeah, it cuts really good. You have so much pressure through the handle. The pressure distributes across your palm really nicely. So you have a ton of leverage into your cuts. Now the utility cuts are really nice, but since it does upsweep a little bit, you do get a lot of your cutting right there in the belly. But the belly, like when you put the tip into the material and you pull back, the material kind of slides up into this belly right there, and it works really good. You know, yes, you're still using the tip, so you're not using a big portion of your edge to do utility cuts, so you're still using the tip, but it just benefits at that little bit, having the little bit more of that belly right there at the tip where it really pulls the material in. And so yeah, it works fantastic for utility cuts. So no problem with cutting in any, you know, any direction, any form. It's great. And I did bring it to work and I did cut some straps. Now, a lot of times I'm kind of worried about blades going backwards like this and not going straight right here, because I don't want the straps to go around the blade. I didn't have too much trouble. It was actually pretty easy to kind of hook my wrist a little bit and pop them. So it does work just fine for popping straps and things like that. But yeah, there are better blade shapes that angle forward that are better for that. Now, the clip. I'm not a big fan of these type of clips just because it's a ball clip and it like has a pinpoint spot. So when it goes over the seam of your pants, it's just that one little pinpoint spot going back and forth over the seam of your pants, which eventually can mess up your pants. This one's not horrible though. The tension's not really, really strong. It's not quite sitting right on the surface really tight. So it winds up being an okay clip. It works fine. I'm okay with it, but I much prefer clips with more of a surface area for the clip to gently go right over the seam of your pants and not have to worry about it poking, you know, the liner of your pocket. So, but it winds up working okay, and it does sit relatively deep, you know, and this is not a small knife, so that's nice. Now, before we get into the bad, you can see it's got a sandwich construction that's really nice. Everything is closed in really tight. We have only 2 screws to take it apart. This thing is very, very tightly built. The tolerances are really nice. You can barely see in there. It does have internal stop pins. And you can see here, even if I slowly open it, the lockup is very solid. We have a steel lock bar insert, and the carbon fiber acts as an over travel, so you're not going to unspring your lock bar. Beautifully centered, and you can see the line right there. It is perfect. Now, We do have a lanyard hole back there. Nice big thick one too. Now, the stop pin, like I said, is internal, so if you ever did want to put in a finger choil, that would not be an issue at all, or a bigger sharpening notch. This sharpening notch is okay. You can always add this very, very easily with a little diamond rod or a Dremel, so I'm not worried about it. And it's okay. It works just fine. I have sharpened this. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, let's talk about some negative things before we talk about the sharpening. So, the one thing is it is a little awkward how it sweeps up a little bit. Now, let me get another knife out so I can kind of show you what I mean. We have a Sebenza here, which has a similar profile. And you notice how the blade swoops up, how this one goes straight right here, and then this one swoops up right here. So that does become... It's not awkward. It just, I guess I could say it's awkward. It gets a little bit to get used to. You're not really used to blades doing, or at least I'm not used to blades doing that. However, I very quickly adjusted and adapted, and it is just fine. It works great. But, you know, even like with the action, you know, instead of shooting it out, which you can do, it's just easier to shoot it straight up. But it does seem a little funny, like in the hand, you know, I expect my edge to be right here and it's back here. So, but you can lean it in towards your cuts, which is really nice. So in a lot of ways, it does benefit it in some ways. And then when you're doing the utility cuts, it's not like you have to lift up very high to get to the tip. A little bit, but not too bad, and it works just fine. Now, the next thing, you know, I already spoke about the clip. I'm not a big fan of these clips. I'd prefer another clip, but it works just fine. Next thing, the tolerances are very, very tight, but right here, there is a little bit of a space. You can see the light, excuse me, the light back there. Now, it's tight right here, but not up here. Now, I can kind of squeeze it together. I'm not really that worried about it. It's not that big of a deal to me, but, you know, I can see through it right there. On some of my other knives that have this same sandwich construction, I don't have that, so it might be just this one. But this is the only one, or only example I've tried of this one. The build quality is still top notch, right? You know, I'm not, it's not that big of a complaint. The next thing, this satin finish, man, look at how scratched up it already is from me bringing it to work and using it. I wish Twosun would get away from this satin finish with their Sandvik steels, and I am going to modify this, so that'll be a whole separate video. I am going to acid etch and stone wash this blade. I'll probably do a video on it, and I'll show you guys how I acid etch and stone wash my blades, and it'll hide all these scratches and look so much better. Their satin finish looks nice on some of their steels, but their Sandviks, it always is just way too polished and way too scratchy and way too fingerprinty. The next thing, I wish it was cut out from the side. I mean, it's not bad. Let me just say that. Like, there is this little chamfer, and since it is so thick, it's very easy to get to unlock it. But I might, while I got it taken apart and, you know, stone washing this, I might just cut this back just a little tiny bit. Now, it's not bad to where, like, I'm going to do it just because, or because, you know, I hate it. I'm saying I already got it taken apart. I'm already going to be stone washing. Why not just do that too? But it's not that big of a deal. It's like probably the least thing I'm worried about. But, you know, I like to modify things, so no big deal. And at the same time, I might even add a bigger sharpening choil or a finger choil. I don't know. We'll see. I do kind of like how close I can get to that blade. So I might not do that. I might just add just a regular sharpening choil, because this one's just fine. Next thing, I don't know if there is a next thing, actually. Yeah, I think that's it. You know, man, this thing is just so awesome, man. Mazwan really knocks it out of the park with his, not only designs, but his build quality on his Twosuns. I always say he has the best build quality. Now, I'm not saying that other designers like Jelly Jerry, Night Morning Design, Wong Designs don't have insanely good build quality knives too, but it seems like all of his designs are built very well. Now with other designers, they have some that are just, they knocked it out of the park. Like, I feel like they're React quality. But then they have a few designs that I'm not the biggest fan of, and the build quality just doesn't seem like it's as good as some of their other designs. With Mazwan Mokhtar designs, man, it just seems like every single one is, the build quality is just amazing. So definitely it feels like React quality in a lot of ways. Now, to this steel, 14C28N, I think Twosun does an amazing job with it. I think their heat treat is done very well on it. I think it's nice and solid. I've sharpened it tons and tons of times. I've used it tons of times. I've never done a cut test with it, but I have done the Civivi's 14C28N cut test, and that performed extremely well. But I did sharpen this. I did put it on the stone, and I only put a working edge on there. Just because I used the heck out of it. The edge was destroyed from me bringing it to work so many days. And there was no reason for me to put like my best edge on there when I'm going to stone wash and acid etch it. So I just sharpened it up really quick, put a beautiful working edge on there. It's incredibly sharp, and it works just fine for what I needed it for testing and everything. But the edge held up really good up until, it wasn't no more. I think I honed it twice. I was just using it so much. But there you guys go. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys watching. Peace. Oh, you guys can find these down below if you want to get one of your own. $100. Peace.